Hello, welcome to our show. Rob Fletcher, joined today with Monica DeAngelis from Bear Spa, and of course, my co-host, Christian Palmer, Top Gun trainer, bodybuilder. Great show for you today, so stay tuned. Okay, well, here we are again. Christian, thanks so much for coming back. Back by popular demand. The DMs were blowing up. Who is that guy? He is Christian Palmer. And today our studio's lit up even more with the beautiful Monica DeAngelis from Bear Spa. Thank you so much for joining us, Monica.
Thank you for having me.
On her way down to Miami.
Yes, I am.
So, Monica, first tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and about, I've personally been to your place. It's beautiful. Can't wait to experience it. So tell everyone about your spa there and your background.
Thank you. So I am originally from Brazil. I am 44 years old. I went to law school in Brazil, which by the third year I was interning at a bank, and I thought to myself, this is like watching paint dry. So I went home and I told my father then, and he was like, well, that's your problem because I've already spent over $100,000 on your ass. And, oh, can I say that?
You're fine. You're
and,
good.
and you were finishing.
You're allowed to. That's what we got to do here.
So I was like, okay, thanks. So I finished, which actually was good because it's a 5-year program. I was already on the third. And I probably would have kept, swapping from one major to another. And in Brazil, you have to start everything over because there's no such thing as college. At 17 years old, I went straight to law school. So I graduated in 2001, and I never really worked in the law field after that internship. But that degree definitely served me.
Absolutely.
In life.
Imagine, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I actually had jobs here in the U.S. in the solar industry that asked to see my diploma, and that raised my salary significantly, my base salary. So the last about 10 years of my professional life, I was working in the solar industry, which was, that's a big jump, right? So I moved from Brazil to the U.S. in 2006. And around 2010, I was already in the solar industry. Before that, I was in marketing and sales roles, and in IT, different industries, until I landed in solar.
But all that knowledge, marketing experience, and the legal aspects of things, that leads to a great overall dynamic of your business and everything else.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome. It definitely, I could not have built Bear without all that experience. So I worked in the solar energy industry for almost 10 years, and I was in every single sector of it, in sales for actual projects, commercial sales. Then I went to work for a distributor and then for a manufacturer. And then it got to a point that I was like, I don't really have a passion for this. I want to do something I like. And I had a friend who owned 3 med spas in the city. She was doing amazingly well. And
when was that?
This was 2018.
Oh, so not too long ago.
Yeah, not too long ago. She was graceful enough to allow me into her space for several months so I could learn the industry. And she showed me her books. She was really amazing. And I was like, okay, this is not only interesting, but it can be very profitable. And I noticed that in the city was very well served in the med spa industry, but the suburbs were not. And that's the case, in my opinion, being someone who lives in the suburbs. Every single industry in the suburbs is underserved. Restaurants, med spas, stores in general.
Do you find that by you, Christian, that it's underserved in your area?
Yes.
Right.
There's less access to 100%.
Yes. So I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here, because I definitely didn't want to live in the city. I live in Mahwah, New Jersey, which is about 50 minutes from the city on a good day without
city
traffic.
accessible, but just far enough out.
Which never happens, no traffic.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Never happens.
Never.
So, and I lived that life for about 4 to 5 months, which is the time that I spent there with her. And I was miserable at the end of the day because, it's not fun to be in traffic 3 hours of your day, basically. And I I actually like my husband, so I wanted to be able to spend time with him.
I like my husband.
A lot of people are unhappily married. And that's not my case. So I wanted to be home and to be close.
Yeah.
So anyway, in 2019, I went to aesthetic school because
Where did you do that?
Capri in New York.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
Familiar with it.
So I did the program. It was 5 months, and I passed the state board. And then I made an offer at a place that's actually close to Bear. And this was around November 2019. The woman backed out of the deal the very last minute. I was going to close it down. I was going to take over January 2020, close it down, remodel, and reopen around probably April 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic.
Exactly.
Like, oh, not even middle, right at the beginning of the pandemic, which was a horrific time to be in business, especially in the service industry. So if you were selling something online, you were thriving. But if you were in the service industry, that was not a good time to be in business. So she backs out of the deal. I was devastated because I'm like, I was a little insecure about starting something of my own. So I figured it would be easier to build on something that somebody had already built.
Right.
And that she had a clientele. So little did I know that I really needed to build my own business because I had a completely different vision from what she had. Yeah. So pandemic hits. My husband just looks at me and goes like, wow, you jumped a fire. Could you imagine if you had taken that over? So anyway, I was like, okay, it wasn't meant to be. Thank you, universe.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I just enjoyed my life for about, 2 more years. I was like, let's just enjoy and, see what happens. I had just bought an apartment in Miami, December 2019. So that was another amazing thing because that apartment doubled in value. By
you can't go wrong.
Real estate in Florida.
You can't go down.
By May 2020, it was like double what we paid for it. So too bad we didn't buy 3 or 4 because I want to keep it. So anyway, so we started spending a lot of time in Miami because obviously the regulations were a lot looser down there. And it was very enjoyable to be able to eat out and to kind of live somewhat of a normal life.
Crazy.
And
it's a crazy experience. The whole thing seems so surreal.
It was.
Really?
It was, looking back now, you're like, wow, how did we even get through it? So
you get through it, sure.
Well, so I know.
And then you opened up the business at that time. Well,
no.
That Bear was, when did Bear open?
August 2022 last year.
Oh, 2022. Okay.
So, so it was, I was enjoying life in Miami and spending most of the winter there. So most of I would say, winter.
So the timing of that was good.
Oh my God. Yeah. I got to Miami in November 2020. I think we didn't come back home until May 2021.
No, it's a great place to be, especially during that time. So with the product and service, your place is beautiful. And what you said earlier, and Christian, you're sure you can attest too, starting your own business, you have that vision. So basically when you're moving into someone else's, it's sort of like you already have this landscape for what you have, but it's not what you want.
Yes.
And now that brought it to a clean slate playing field.
Yes. However, also a clean state and blank field.
It was like, what do I do?
Customers. Yeah. So we had nothing starting. So, and it was very funny because we are next door to a big building that has an architecture and engineering firm upstairs. And before we open, this girl comes in. She knocks on the door. I'm still like organizing things. And she knocks on the door and she says, "Are you guys open yet?" I was like, "No, it's going to be another week." She goes, "Oh my God, I'm so excited." I was like, "Okay, well, come in and take a look." And I show her around and she's like, "Okay." So she comes back 2 days later. She's like, "By the way, I'm interested in laser hair removal. I really liked it here." I was like, "Okay, sure. So what do you want to do?" "Oh, full body." I was like, "All right." So
full body.
So that's a great, first customer. And so I break it down for her. It's about $10,000. I'm like, wow, she's going to think about it. She says, "Okay, sign me up."
Awesome. Love it.
Gotta love that, right?
Yeah. I said, "What?" So I'm trying to look.
She's like, "Are you sure?"
I'm pretending it's normal. It's your first sale. It was so crazy. It flagged the system, the software system, the bank, because we put up our average sale at $450, $600. I don't remember exactly, but it was not 10 for sure.
Yeah.
And And it really made me feel, wow, this is a good omen. We're on the right path here. And that was our first client. And ever since then, we've been growing steadily every month.
I love location, especially it's only like 5 minutes from me.
Yes, no, it's a great location. Suffern is a cute little town. It has a lot of, Sushi Bada next door is amazing. I don't know if you've been.
Many times.
Oh, such good sushi. Yeah. There's like a lot of little cute places, and it's a nice town to be in.
Well, we have the best of the best here. So Christian has that, so much knowledge with health, fitness, and personal training. So we're going to go back to you in a minute, Monica. So Christian, let's start off with getting people on the right track here to look good, to feel good. Of course, you have to take care of yourself. That includes working out. And Monica, we're going to talk about your CrossFit. She's a CrossFitter. She does that how many times a week? 2 to 3 times a week?
2 times a week. But I should clarify, I'm a SpongeBob CrossFitter.
SpongeBob.
So my trainers, they laugh at me, and it's fine. I don't care.
But you're there. You get through.
No, because I say, listen, I don't want any injuries. I don't want to get huge. I just want to be lean and toned and in shape. So if everybody's lifting 80 pounds, I'm probably doing 30.
That's right. The main thing is showing up, getting it done. And Christian, start people off with like a healthy diet, just a general, we always talk about no cookie cutter. And then we're going to really amp it up with how do you look better. And we're going to talk about the products that you have at Bear, Monica. So knock it out.
Yeah. So, what I find is the most underconsumed macronutrient is protein. I think a lot of people would stand to do better in exercise recovery, just general physical function. Protein is involved in every enzymatic and metabolic process. It's what we're made of: hair, nails, skin, eyes, right? Everyone's into collagen now, which is great. So I think getting at least 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight for the average person. Some people say, well, how do I know how much that is? There's so many tracking apps, Chronometer,
MyFitnessPal.
Exactly. So it's like, hey, just put in what you eat on the average day. If you're under, shoot for more. There's things like protein powder, or just putting in the effort to eat a little more protein, which is easier than I think a lot of people make it out to be. And the other thing is make sure that you are steadily fed throughout the day. A lot of people want to do fasting because they think it's the secret to fat loss, and that's fine. But if you're going to work out, put a demand on your body, make sure you give it the right building blocks and nutrients so that you get what you want out of it. Right. So it's not like you're working hard and then you don't see the results.
So we were talking earlier about, going out, having a good time, and of course, having a couple martinis, margaritas, but talk about the effects of alcohol, because I know many people are going out there, they're hitting the gym real hard, but they're still going out, maybe binging, even if it was like once or twice. Of course, there's moderation, it's good, but the effects alcohol has on the body as opposed to not really working well with your programs.
That's a great question. Okay, so a lot of people who did their fair share of drinking in college or when they were younger could get away with it, right? They drank a lot and like, I was kind of hungover the next day, and then it bounced right back. As people start to get over 40, it's like, I felt bad for 3 days afterwards. So, and especially with men, alcohol can increase the aromatase enzyme, which aromatizes some of your testosterone into estrogen, right? Or a greater percentage than you'd like to. So remember that when you're over 40, naturally there's a decline in most men's testosterone to some degree. Drinking alcohol can increase that, and often does. Now, some people say, I only have one a day. It depends on the person, because depending on where you are hormonally and what the rest of your lifestyle looks like, are you getting enough sleep, right? Are you exercising on a regular basis? What's your stress management like? If you don't have those things squared away, then if you're drinking on a regular basis a few times a week, that can play a role.
And that's how you make your assessments, because you really dial into what the client's lifestyle is like, their activity levels, and of course what their goals and objectives are. Monica,
100%.
We're talking about pillars of exercise. So let's
pillars of aging, you mean?
Pillars of aging.
Yes. Okay.
Pillars of aging.
Pillars of exercise is over there, not here.
Yeah. Well, you got the CrossFit, although you refer to yourself as SpongeBob, I would disagree.
Well, listen, I lift what I think is necessary for me, and that's, I don't want to have any injuries. That's all. And
Injury free, that's important. Yeah.
yes, and
Well, it's good that you know that. Many people would
I've
try
had
to go too much, and that's what CrossFit. If you're really not paying attention to that,
Yeah.
and if your trainers aren't dialed in,
Correct.
that's where you can definitely get.
Oh,
injured,
it's
for sure.
so common. Some of the events they have, you go and somebody leaves in an ambulance, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that happens." I'm like, "No,
That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, Olympic lifting will do that to you if you're not coached well.
what do you mean that happens?" No.
So pillars of aging.
Pillars of aging. So the pillars of aging are, and the reason I like to talk about this is I'm 44 now. When I'm going to be 45 in September, when I hit about 38 years old, 39, my face started changing, and I'm like, I don't like this. What's going on here? And I couldn't find anyone to explain it to me until I went to Brazil to a dermatologist, and I don't know why, but it seems to me like aesthetics over there are about light years ahead of here in the sense of
Now,
thoroughly understanding what's going on and explaining it and addressing it. So the pillars of aging are bone density loss. There's a phenomenon called bone resorption. So the bone basically eats itself. A lot of times when you see the sagginess here and the nasolabial fold is because this bone has resorbed and everything kind of collapses.
are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it, but not in that reference that way.
Well, so then you have muscle tissue loss.
Sarcopenia,
Yes, in the entire body. The face is no different. Not just loss, but also dislocation. So it could just move a little bit because it's weaker, and then it kind of drops, just like the rest of the body. Adipose tissue loss and dislocation. This doesn't happen in the body, but it does happen in the face. So I'm thinking, wow, we lose fat in the face, but we gain in the body. It's like your body turns on you as you age.
Yeah.
Like you enjoyed me in your 20s. Now I'm going to turn on you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So then we have texture changes in skin, hyper and hypopigmentation, and we have a drop in collagen production about 1% a year after the age of 25. So
How much?
1% a year
1%
after
a year.
25. So what we try to do at Bear is to address all these issues before we start injecting someone's face, because injectables don't really treat skin, and except for biostimulators of collagen like Gradias, which is a filler and a biostimulator of collagen. But for the most part, Botox doesn't treat anything. In my opinion, this is going to sound controversial, but if muscle tissue loss is one of the pillars of aging, then when you are paralyzing a muscle, it's consequently going to atrophy. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I prefer to take more natural routes. So the first thing that we try to address is, like, on each client, okay, what are your concerns? So I have this client now, she's 64 years old. She's a beautiful woman, lots of sun damage. And yes, a little bit of laxity on the skin, and has a little bit of bone resorption in certain areas. But the first thing that we're addressing with her is the pigmentation, because I want to have a clean canvas to start working on. And then with time, we're probably going to do...
And that process is what when you're doing
It's a photofacial, so also called it as photo rejuvenation, which is basically color correction. It's a laser procedure.
So that's to give you like that clean slate or...
Amazing. Yeah. It really clears out pigment, except that we have something called the...
One treatment?
No, it takes about 3 to 6 treatments depending on the
And how long is
per
damage. Treatment? How long is the process?
Oh, it's 20 minutes.
Okay.
And then you have downtime of about a week, but it's not horrific downtime. It's just your skin will crust a little bit, almost like coffee grinds, and it falls off. So you just have to wear sunscreen.
Is that similar to something like peeling? They have that?
In a way, it does peel, because that crust is a form of peeling, but it's a different process. So
it's a chemical peel. That's what they call it.
Yes, a chemical peel.
Okay.
This is much more effective than a chemical peel. The problem with photofacials is that we have something called the Fitzpatrick scale. It goes from 1 to 6, 1 being lighter skin, 6 being darker. And there's only certain skin types that you can treat with that kind of machine. So laser likes white skin. So I'm a skin type 4, and I can be a 5 in the summer. That is not for me. If I put that laser on my skin, it's either going to make me hypopigment or not work at all. So It's very tricky to treat pigment and skin types 4 and up.
Now, do you do the treatment yourself, or you have someone else?
I have a
You those
nurse,
people?
I have an esthetician, and I'm also an esthetician, so sometimes I'll do treatments. It depends on how my day is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so after you address pigment, then sometimes you have to address skin texture. She has skin texture issues too, so we start doing microneedling. Now I'm buying a microneedling radio frequency machine, which is amazing. I mean,
Did you do that? Is that the one we were talking about?
yes.
Yeah.
So
And one of the things I will testify, she's not going to do anything without testing it herself. She
Yes.
said. So she was there
I
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah.
So I test every machine. So I tested 2 machines, and not to divert too much from where I was going, but I went to Miami in February to an anti-aging conference with the American Med Spa Association, and they were promoting exosomes a lot. So exosomes are the new the newest thing in aesthetics right now. They're basically nanoparticles of stem cells that facilitate intercellular communication and replication. So it's incredibly regenerative, and it brightens skin. It softens scars. It prevents scars. It prevents a wound from becoming a scar if you apply it while it's healing. So it's seriously, I'm in love with that product.
And this falls under that term, which you said, regenerative medicine, so people understand it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's regenerative medicine applied to aesthetics. So this would be the equivalent to either stem cell therapy or PRP. PRP I'm not a huge fan of personally, because I don't like to get my blood drawn for an aesthetic procedure. And because I think your PRP is only as good as your blood quality and your diet quality.
What do you think of the
And-
PRP, Christian?
I agree with your assessment of that, because it's true. Someone can have their blood drawn and they can tell you what your health issues are by looking at it, and your blood quality might not be as good. It could be too viscous. It could have a lack of certain nutrients. It could have a buildup of certain metals, toxins. So if you're going to reapply that to your body, if it's not great
Right.
quality,
Yeah,
it
good
makes
point.
sense.
Exactly. So I'd rather use a product that's been produced in a lab with donors that have been screened and those are healthy tissues, and it comes either from adipose tissue or from placenta or umbilical cords. Different manufacturers do different things. I like the adipose tissue derived from Benev because it's lyophilized, meaning it doesn't have to be in an ultra cold freezer. You just mix it with a hyaluronic acid serum that they send you, and it's amazing. I really love that product. So on the exosome workshop at this conference, they were talking about the delivery methods of exosomes into the skin, because you need microchannels for it to penetrate the skin. So the 3 main methods are regular microneedling, radiofrequency microneedling, or nitrogen plasma. So I wanted to test all 3. I had already done the regular microneedling. I tested the radiofrequency microneedling, which I really liked. And then I wanted to see what the nitrogen plasma was about, because it was very interesting. So, and you have the 3 states of matter. The 4th is plasma. So you have solid, liquid, gas. When you ionize gas, it turns into plasma. And that's what this machine does. It turns nitrogen gas into,
That's the one you
into
really
plasma
like.
form. Well, yes and no, because I tested the machine, and to be honest with you, the manufacturer said it's little to no downtime. And one of my friends that we treated at 2 joules, the machine goes up to 4, looked like a burn victim.
Oh.
So I said, well, listen, it was a great effect, but the downtime was not little at all. So, and we live in this immediatistic society where
That's what I think people have to really be careful of when they're going to the, places like you. And I know you do
Absolutely.
your due diligence, 100%. I've been there. We talk a lot, but imagine going in and having someone do that, and then they say
No.
little to no downtime,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you look like she said.
Exactly. And that's what the manufacturer claims. So if you don't test it, you have no way to know. So between the 2 machines, I decided to go with radio frequency microneedling because I love the results. I did it. They did it on my,
And that downtime was different.
oh my God,
Yeah.
I was fine the next day. So I was red for 2 hours.
So that's radio frequency, you said?
Radio frequency microneedling. So the first manufacturer of that machine was Morpheus, actually In Mode. Morpheus is the name of the machine. The Morpheus is notoriously painful. I mean, people really, I've heard horror stories about it. And we were considering it, but then I tried Silvermax, which is this machine that Benev, the exosome manufacturer, produces as well. And I really enjoyed the effects, and it was tolerable. I numbed for about 40 minutes, and we did it. And I'm a wimp, so if I could handle it, anyone can.
Because you're SpongeBob.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Not just in CrossFit. So now we're excited to acquire this machine. We're just in talks with the manufacturer to work the terms, and we should have it this month.
What's your most popular right now, you think? What do people like are looking into the most? I would imagine this proper skincare treatment. That's probably
Yes. So my demographic would be my core business demographic would be, I would say, women anywhere from 40 to 60, and that is the age where your face starts to collapse. So the reason why I'm acquiring this machine is because we have the demand for some kind of serious skin tightening and lifting solution, and this is it. And with little downtime, actual little downtime, not promised little downtime.
Yeah, so we're in the gym so much, people, and then taking care of your skin should be equal attention, right?
Absolutely.
So what are some tips that for men and then for women, for both?
Well, just for humans in general. Yeah. So, number one, I would say sunscreen, because sun damage. UVA, the A in that acronym means aging. B is burning, UVB is for burning, A is for aging. So definitely, because it's very hard to correct hyperpigmentation, especially in skins 4 and up. So I am extremely careful in the sun, because I've had my fair share of sun when I was younger, and I have all sorts of spots in my face, and it's hard to treat because I'm a darker skin type. So absolutely sunscreen for all ages, all skin types. And I tell people use both a chemical and a physical barrier, meaning, well, guys are not going to want to do this, but women. So use a regular sunscreen, but also use a foundation that has sunscreen, because that's a physical barrier to the sun. And it really makes a difference. I tell that to all of our clients at the spa.
So a base, like a
foundation. Well, you're a guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, so we're good? All right, so skincare, sunscreen, a foundation, which guys are going to have a hard time doing. But what about on cloudy days?
Same thing. Even these lights can cause damage. So indoors, cloudy, just wear it. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. And also build a skincare routine. So cleanser, toner, some kind of a serum,
Exfoliation
moisturizer.
type of...
Well, you can exfoliate once a week. I mean, or just go for a facial, and we'll do it for you. But if you are cleansing, toning, toner is important. People overlook it, and most people don't even know what it does. When you wash your face, you throw off the pH balance, and what the toner does is bring it back immediately. So, and then a serum, some kind of moisturizer, and sunscreen.
Do you have all those products at your...
We do. We have our own skincare line. It's private labeled, but it's
you get back from Miami, I have to go shopping.
Now, question, do you have any advice for people who either have hard water or maybe soft water at their house? Do you notice a big difference in someone's maybe skin quality that has been exposed to hard water their whole life, or maybe a lot of ocean water? Being in Florida and whatnot, you get a lot of that, plus the sun exposure. So
absolutely. So definitely buy a water softener. That's what I would say, because I see a humongous difference
in
my skin and my hair in New Jersey, because I have an apartment in Miami. When I go down there, I see a tremendous difference in my skin. And of course, that has to do with humidity and everything else, but absolutely the water is different. And I would say water softener. That's your best bet against that.
Well, Christian, I want to dive over to you now. So we have some healthy eating there. So we'll go with women and men. So women, if women, obviously men and women want to lose weight. There's a difference between losing weight and losing fat. We both know that. So let's start off with that. What people should be doing. There's explain why it's not weight loss. We're diving into fat loss. That's what you want to do because you have skinny fat. That's obviously unhealthy. So explain again, it applies to both men and women. Men that want to just lose weight suddenly deprive themselves of eating, and they just think that that's the thing to do. Where there's that misconception of weightlifting is going to do too much, especially for women.
So I think in this country we have a scarcity of muscle, right? If you look at
Because you took it all.
Yeah, it's all in his arms.
You took up all the real estate.
So, sarcopenia, which we were talking about before, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And as father time starts to tick away further on your life, right, it takes muscle mass away, and it's also harder to gain. So I tell people, I'm like, listen, invest in your future now by putting on some muscle. And people say, well, I don't want to get bulky. I'm like, no one accidentally gets bulky.
No.
Right? I've never seen anyone accidentally turn into Mr. or Miss Olympia, right?
You should say this takes a lot of work and I eat a lot of protein.
Exactly. It's like you don't accidentally become.
That's like machine. That's like you're dialed in, and that brings me to another point of structure. I mean, to do what you do, that's discipline. Tremendous discipline. It's structure. It's you're completely dialed in. But yeah, go ahead. Continue on with the.
Yeah. So even just having a regimen, and I don't mean let me see when I can get it in. It's okay. On Mondays at this time, I can go to the gym for this amount of time, right? Wednesdays, maybe Thursdays, Fridays, whatever it is. But create a skeleton or an outline for your week. Here's the times I go to the gym, no matter what. These are my dedicated times. And if you have that outline already, then you can adjust around it. But if every week it's, well, let me see if I can, maybe I can get there after work. Exactly.
There's no plan.
And a lot of people, I'll go after work. You come home from a long day, you hit the couch, you're not going to the gym. Yeah. So put your gear in your trunk, right? Yeah. Your shoes in there, your shirt, go
put the wheels in motion. Put the wheels in motion.
Exactly. And like I said, with food, just be as consistent as possible. 80-20, right? Pareto principle is 80% of the time, be good. 20% have some fun. And I would even say 90-10 because a lot of people tend to blur those lines.
And stretch that 20 to 30.
Exactly. Like, it's a party and, it's Netflix. And so I think just the other thing is maybe a tracking app. I think they're so valuable because a lot of people just
Do you use the fitness?
So I used to. I followed a macronutrient diet for a while.
Do you find that, like you said, do you find that made a difference? When
it really helps. Yeah. But what I did notice is that after a while, you don't really need it because you kind of know. Mm-hmm. So, and it was very protein focused because I really like this Dr. Gabrielle
Lyons. Gabrielle Lyons, yeah.
So she calls muscle the organ of longevity, and she is right. If you're not building muscle, chances are, with age, you're not going to be able, muscle and mobility, which working out brings. If you're squatting, chances are you're going to be mobile. But yes, as you get old, what are the hardest thing to do is to pick something up from the floor, to be able to bend down and get up.
I see it made a huge difference with my daughter, Linda Stevens, have put on a program there. And ever since, it's just more mindful now. It's right there. She sees it, and it actually motivates her because she sees what she's doing throughout the course of the day.
Exactly.
Until it becomes a habit. Back to what you said earlier, I think you have to create those habits. You have to change the habits. If you're not working out and you're not training, you're not suddenly going to, until that time comes where there's a click, and you don't want to wait for the time that you have to do it, where you're forced to do it.
Exactly.
But, sarcopenia. Talk about that.
Okay, so sarcopenia, it is a real thing. Think about anyone that you've seen who's like 70 or older. You ever see anyone who's jacked in 70? Not really, unless they're using exogenous hormones, right? Yeah. That's just the way nature is when people are 80. Is anyone ever jacked? No. But the people that invest in building muscle earlier in life, right? And I'll always say it's never too late to start. If you're thinking I should probably do it now, you should do it now. And you essentially put muscle in the bank for later in life. Look how many people are suffering from pre-diabetes and diabetes. How do you solve that? Muscle tissue opens up we're just going to call it the receptors for glucose, right? And it sucks it up when you use those muscles. That is one of the ways you can prevent diabetes as you age. Also, being self-sufficient, right? I don't need someone to open that jar for me, or I can pick this box up off the floor by myself. Or, hey, I got to pick my kids up. I don't throw my back out anymore, because you've actually practiced in becoming a more useful and strong human being. So I think some people think about it like, oh, I hate going to the gym. I'm like, well, how about you think about your family? Would you like to be able to play with your kids when you're
Goes
65?
back to that why and a purpose.
Exactly.
Once you identify that why, that purpose, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that. And it all comes down to habits and rituals. You know, everyone gets stuck in a rut, and the only way you're going to change, no one's going to change you. You have to, you know, no one's going to save you. That's that line. No one's going to save you.
Exactly.
You have to save yourself.
Absolutely. And you know, one thing you were talking about, oh, you're going to, after work, you're going to be tired. Yes, I agree. You have to have a routine, which I do, and it really helps. However, what I've created this thing in my head, and like every time I feel lazy about doing anything, whatever it is, even if it's to make coffee, I force myself to get up and do it.
Do it anyway. I love that, right?
Because I don't want to be a
It's like
lazy
the cold
person.
shower we talked about.
Yeah.
I do not want to do the cold shower.
But you just do it.
It's
so
programming,
every time I
right.
see laziness settling in, I'm like,
That's great.
no.
So you're on an automatic pilot.
Yes.
Well, you and I like to say the Andrew Huberman, you know, we're talking about
Yes,
neuroscience, all those
Huberman,
different Jay Shetty, he's great, Dr. Joe Dispenza, but they are completely dialed in on how to rewire, you know, and once I think you get into that place of rewiring, you could change anything.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you're one way, doesn't mean you can stay that way, but you have to have the dedication.
That's true. And
that's
also
why you have
gratitude.
that pilot.
I think gratitude goes a long way because a lot of people think, oh, I have to. It's like, sometimes, okay, if you've got a workout and I've got a tough workout ahead of me, and it's like, oh, well, you could stay home, right? But then I think, well, how many people would love to be able to, you got to kind of go to that dark place.
Yes,
yeah.
and can't.
I follow a page called Adaptive Athletes on Instagram, and it's all athletes who either missing arms, missing legs, have some sort of, you know, issue. And there they are working out, doing Olympic lifting, box jumps, squatting, and it's like, I've even had clients in the past where they're like, well, I found it kind of hard. I'll show them that page. I'm like, well, what's your excuse again?
Yeah.
All right. It's because gratitude. It's like, don't say I have to work out. Yeah, I get to work out. Because you don't know, one day you may trip, fall, and you can't anymore.
That's a great point. You know, changing your mindset and the way your perception of how you look at that. You know, oh my God, I got to do an hour working out. That's why I love the cold shower. I talked about it like numerous times. Last thing I want to do. Last thing I want to do. You've been doing it a lot longer than me. The last thing I want to do, 4 o'clock in the morning, is jump in that thing. But that tagline in my head, I go in calmly. Totally, the first time I almost went through the ceiling and the wall, and then now I just calmly walk in. I'm like, this sucks.
Oh my God! And it never gets easier. It's like,
but my mind is now programmed.
I have news for you guys. So I read, and I might be wrong, but apparently, if you just put your face in a bowl of really cold water, it has the same effect, and it's a lot less unpleasant. So
it's brutal. Do you do the cold plunge? Do you do the plunge, or you just a shower?
I would, but where I live, I don't have the ability to do that right now.
Yeah, I'm not ready for the ice bath yet. Yeah, but that's interesting. So I have to look into that a little more.
Yes, well, I read.
But I still think I like the whole exposure of it. Like, I don't want. Let me rephrase. I don't like it. I just think it just gets me to another place.
It's different, yeah, for sure. And I gotta say, I love that you mentioned that you're not a big fan of Botox. So I live in Westchester, and Westchester is full of women who all the time. It's just, they just get needles in their face every day, right?
And the duck lips.
And it's like the Joan River, rest in peace, that just their faces don't move anymore, right?
Well, so that's the thing. I don't think they really know or understand what's the damage.
And that plus the sarcopenia. Yeah. Exactly. It's like, now you can't move those muscles. What do you think's going to happen to them?
Yeah.
Right? And you got to keep going. Then it's the fillers. Then it's the,
And that was your substitute for that? So someone wants... Yeah.
So I went to Brazil recently to take a workshop on something called fibrin. It's the silkworm produces a natural fiber that they call fibrin, and you can apply that topically to the skin. You microneedle it and you put that fibrin, put some hyaluronic acid on top, and the skin absorbs it. Of course, it's not going to take one treatment because it's a natural fiber. About six, but it's a lot less expensive than Botox, and it's a biostimulator of collagen as well. So if you can... whatever you can do to create a collagen, you were talking about a muscle bank. I always talk about a collagen bank, let's say like a savings account, So if that production is dropping every year, anything that can stimulate that production naturally is what you should be doing, because the body is capable of regenerating. And so why not we are living in this very exciting time where there's so much research. I mean, stem cell research started in 1981. Look how far we've come. on this, and it started with mice, and now I talked to a friend of mine who's an orthopedic surgeon.
You're doing the stem cell?
No, so exosomes are nanoparticles of stem cells, so it mimics stem cell therapy effects for a fraction of the cost. But I was talking to a friend of mine who's an orthopedic surgeon last week, and she said that in about 3 years they will no longer be doing knee replacement because you can
regenerate.
Exactly. So that's amazing. Could you imagine? Like, do you know how hard it is to recover from that surgery or hip replacement or any replacement, to put a foreign body into your own body? The chance of rejection, how hard it is to adapt and move after, or have full range of motion on your knees after. My mother-in-law had it twice. And because the first time wasn't very good, and then she had to redo it. Yes. Yeah. And it was horrific. And she was 80
that's tough
years
when
old
you get older to have that time. That's a brutal road.
Exactly. Yeah. So
regeneration.
So if you could cure it some other way, it's amazing. And the same thing goes for the face. So regenerative medicine applies to aesthetics. You just have to know what you're doing and use the right products and the right machines. That's all.
Well, you guys, I can't thank you both enough. Guys and girls, thank you very much, Monica. Thank you very much, Christian. We're closing out. So, Monica, I know I'm on your social media there. I'm following you. So where can people find you?
Bare Laser Med Spa.
Bare, B-A-R-E.
B-A-R-E, Laser Med Spa in Suffern, New York. And our website is barelasermedspa.com.
Awesome place. Make sure you check it out. Take care of yourself inside and out. Christian, where can people find you?
So relentlessfitnessandnutrition.com and Christian F, like Foxtrot, Christian F Palmer on Instagram.
Make sure you check them out. So this show is all about education and raising awareness. Thanks so much for tuning in. But listen, learn, apply, try. No one's going to save you. Save yourself. Do the right thing. Eat well. Exercise. Check out Monica, Bare Spa. Till next time, live healthy, live fit, live strong.